The redundancy principle. Principle 1 states, do not add screen text to narrated graphics. This is a no-no. If the on-screen text is the same as the narration, it's what we refer to as the redundancy principle, which can affect the degree to which a person learns. According to the cognitive theory of multimedia learning, people have two different channels to process information, visually and auditorily, with each channel only being able to process so much information at any given point. However, when on-screen text is added, it creates competition for the viewer's attention. This causes what we refer to as extraneous cognitive overload, which occurs when written text is combined with visuals, overloading the learner's visual pathways, which essentially will decrease their learning. In a set of studies on lightning using multimedia, two different learning groups were compared for a problem-solving transfer of information. The first group was presented with audio, visuals, and on-screen text duplicated by the audio. The second group was presented with visuals and audio only. So who do you think was the most successful? The learning outcome was staggering, with the non-redundant group producing twice as much learning. However, there are always exceptions to the rules. According to Principle 2, there will be times when combining images with audio and text can be beneficial to the learning process. Special situations include when there are points in the presentation when it contains no picture, for example, if you are writing an agenda, or if the learning is student-paced, allowing the learner to pause or go backwards and forwards. Also consider adding keywords to help learners associate them with specific images or as a sort of signaling to the learner for what to focus on. Lastly, adding text would be appropriate if your target is for language learners. In a study by Mayer and Johnson, they confirmed that students learn better when short amounts of printed text are placed next to the corresponding graphics, which worked as a way to signal to learners which parts of information to pay more attention to. According to the study, learning was increased up to 3 times on a problem-solving transfer test. So what does this supporting the redundancy principle look like? In this TED-Ed video, the understanding of how wind turbines work is explained. The video's use of images combined with an audio explanation doesn't overwhelm the learner's dual pathways of audio and visual receptors. So what does violating the redundancy principle look like? Notice the repeated text coming from on-screen combined with the audio narration. This is an example of what not to do. Repeating the same words with messages will overwhelm the learner's dual pathways, inevitably decreasing their learning. Let's review what we've covered so far. True or false? Graphics should be described by words presented in the form of audio narration, not by concurrent narration and redundant text. The answer to this is true. With an audio narration voiceover, use only the graphics on screen. Don't use graphics and text. True or false? Even if certain words are unfamiliar to the learner, they should still not be presented in text on slide, but rather explained in the narration. The answer to this is false. Remember, there are always exceptions to the rule. At times, you may need to show the learner exactly what to pay attention to on screen. This will require highlighting important words and information. I hope this presentation helps you to consider some important decisions when designing your next lesson.